Hello. Hello and welcome to the USN Travel Talk. And today I am going to talk with Jeveen. She has a beautiful surname called Atto Motwali, is it?
That's correct.
Yes. From Arabian Adventures, the MICE Incentive and Events Department there. She's heading that. And we're going to talk today about, of course, hybrid event, because I know that's something which has come up with the recent pandemic. We're getting new words and new types of, things happening for us. So, Jeveen, short, would you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Christine. Yeah, it's lovely to be here and great opportunity to be able to shed some insight into Arabian Adventures. And as Christine mentioned, hybrid events, which is obviously the new norm at the moment for many of us in the events world. But it really is a pleasure to be here. I've been in Dubai now for nearly 9 years with Arabian Adventures that time. I am, as Christine mentioned, responsible for the meetings, incentives and events team, being part of the Emirates group. It's fair to say that, we're absolutely committed to achieving the highest standards of safety for all of our customers and sustainable operation throughout. And the team that we have absolutely deliver high caliber events to any level that's required, really. We actually operate within Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Ras Al Khaimah, and also Oman as well. So really, as Christine said, it's a great opportunity to be here. I think before we sort of kick-started into the main presentation, we wanted to show you a little bit of a video to give you an insight as to who Arabian Adventures is, and you can get to meet some of the team on the video as well.
I'll get onto the video and let's see. Let's do that and I play.
مرحبا بكم. I love Dubai for many reasons. It's so cosmopolitan, it's very diverse, it has the most incredible cuisine.
I love Dubai because it's an inspirational destination.
It's a city that never settles. From its people to its culture, there's always something new to do.
As Arabian Adventures, we add value through the support that we can offer our clients in our knowledge, our experience and our expertise locally.
What's important to our clients is making sure that they're working with a trusted partner.
Somebody who understood their requirements and who will make sure that all their expectations are being delivered.
We go above and beyond for our clients through our true passion to deliver. It's the small touches that count and we really, truly care.
There you go. So that's a little bit on, of course, Arabian Adventures. I know a few who sign up also already users, and there might be someone seeing the replay when we post it on YouTube afterwards as well, who just, if they want to get in touch with us, they can email our team, which is Jonas, basically taking care of all requests in here with us. So I'll post the, on the chat, I will post the email to Jonas as well, so everybody can have it. First of all, just Jeveen, I was thinking of course, both of us are in Dubai, so we've been seeing how things are developing while most of the people are sitting in Scandinavia. But we are a little bit on a different world at the moment, where the second wave is hitting very hard through over Europe, lots of lockdowns and events coming down. While I see Dubai has had several events. How do you feel the event is happening and what's happening in Dubai? From your side or the event side.
No, absolutely. And it's a great question and a great place to start, because, we are very mindful that it is a difficult time for all of our clients and partners throughout the world. And, they're in our thoughts daily. But at the same time, within Dubai, the pandemic has been handled extremely well within such a safe environment, which with strong sort of protocols and those that's enabled us to create a platform still for events, whether that be in live events, which we are still seeing happen, with lots of safety and security protocol attached to that, or as we're about to talk about, sort of the hybrid event world as well. Hi, Christine.
Oh, there we are. I think the Wi-Fi kind of went off or somewhere because I saw someone saying the Wi-Fi is not working. So let's just try back again on where we let off. We were put into a different room. I think the Wi-Fi just dropped.
Sure. Yep, I'm still here.
You're still there. Good.
Yep.
Well, they're saying like, yeah, we're on again. So they are seeing us back here.
Excellent.
So no, I was just saying that I think it's a great place to start as well when we're talking hybrid, because where Dubai has, you know, moving towards normality in one way with all the events, and we got event places and big events happening as well. We had some in place because we got space here down here in Dubai for it. And then adding on the rest of the world, I think the hybrid version is good to you know, get in as well at the same time, because that, you know, we can then add on that part of the world, you know, travel restrictions as well, or maybe company policy, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's just start. I'll start off the presentation a little bit so we can talk around, because you introduce and I will ask questions, and everybody else who's on the chat, please just ask questions as well. If you have anything for Jeveen during the things, I will monitor the chat. So I'll ask the questions out loud, Jeveen, so it's not a problem.
No, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So a little bit about sort of hybrid events. We've covered this a little bit already about who we are, what we do, and you've had a look at the video of Arabian Adventures and the team, and a little insight into the destination. And just to give you a flavour of the various different services we offer. So really every meeting and incentive and event, we truly believe has its own unique little personality, and we really help our partners bring that concept to reality. So whether our clients need help with finding the right venue, really tailor-made activities, or designing event that has you know, something extra special to it, you know, the team have a wide range of expertise to bring to that. And I think, as we will focus on now a little bit more about event technology, that's definitely evident that it's extremely important in today's world. So as we move through the next couple of slides, one of the points that we wanted to sort of kickstart with and have a conversation about was what is essentially a hybrid event. Now, in a nutshell, it really is an experience that brings together people at the physical venue, where everything is taking place in a virtual audience. And really, to break that down, this slide breaks that down in that essentially it's the best of both worlds. So a hybrid event is a live event and a virtual event blended together into one. So when you take a look at the live event, it really is, there's nothing that really changes. It's the same fundamentals apply to the live event. There's no new rules. There's no surprises. It's what we all know. operationally wise, that is. What is looking different, and we touched on that before, Christine, is all the social distancing new rules, all the new regulations, the health and safety, hygiene and protocols, which obviously is at the forefront of everything we do. So that's the live event component. And we take a look at the virtual event. And really, this is about the online event that features webinars and webcasts similar to what we're doing now. Well, this is a virtual event.
It is.
Where guests interact in a virtual world, an environment that is via the web versus a physical location. It's much more highly interactive. There's opportunities to do surveys, polls, do engagements with guest speakers and so on. So,
No, sorry, I'm interrupting. I was just thinking, because normally, like we talked about earlier as well, I always like to put in an example and kind of thing. So let's take, for example, because I think this fits very well with, of course, companies who's maybe got offices around, different places in the world, because that's thing it makes sense for them as well. Or even back home, if you got a Danish company or a Swedish or Norwegian company who wants to do an event, a live event, and maybe have restrictions, or they want to add on a little bit, we've been home, if they've been in Denmark, they've done probably a lot of their in there, if you take Denmark per se at the moment. They're coming to Dubai and they want to do an event. Take Maersk, for example. If you take a big company, we take Maersk, because they got office down here as well. So they want to do something for the client, for the staff, maybe bring in some guest speakers, doing an event. It might be a 3 or 4 days event with different, features to it. So, for example, then one evening they're doing Burj Al Arab, doing a big event with a couple of guest speakers, some entertainment, got dinner and everything in there. So how would that play out for you? Of course, the live event will be as normal. You do the planning and,
That's correct. Yeah. No, and that's a great idea to talk this through. And a lot of our clients ask that very question, do I have to plan 2 events? How does it work? And I think that, everything, as we've touched on, that you have to consider for the live event remains the same. So take the Burj Al Arab, you'd still, make sure that the venue was correct in terms of the location. You'd look at sort of the menu, the deliverables, who your guest speaker is going to be. Is it going to fit with the core objectives of what the event wants to achieve? So looking at the venue, the speakers, the entertainment, the catering and so on, absolutely doesn't change. The main core difference is that at the same time as that live event that's taking place in the Burj Al Arab, simultaneously, the production aspects to the virtual event will require the attention. So the focus then is on obviously the virtuals. You've got to then really focus on the platform. You've got to look at the engagement. So how are you going to get that same message across in live event that you want to get to the live event? How are you going to deliver that? As well as the virtual world? You've got to look at sort of the technology, and as I mentioned, sort of the different platforms, even the entertainment, something as simple as that. You've really got to consider that it might not work for both audiences. You've got to really look at your content, and I can't stress that enough, that the content is really key to the success of a hybrid event.
Okay, so if again, like I said, I'm a very practical person, so I go in and check it. So let me see. I am the virtual attendance. Yeah, so I'm one of those who couldn't travel because restrictions maybe or family reasons. So I had to stay and do the virtual part of it. So I'm staying in Copenhagen or another place, for example, and watching it. So I log into my login thing, and then and put it this way, of course, I know it's budget, all things goes in the virtual, but let's say you have unlimited budget on that one. So you just want to have them interacting. So me as a virtual, participant, I'm sitting there in front of my computer and I'm hearing speakers. So I can see the whole thing happening from the stage, basically.
Sure. No, that's really another great question. How do the physical and virtual attendees interact? How do they engage with each other? And I think that they're obviously what's critical in this is the conference services, and conference services have to allow for that 2-way communication. So when you're working with your partner, it's about looking at the audio, the video, the presentation, along with the messaging, and looking at features such as sort of voting, question and answers, surveys, various different engagements. I think, the third-party services, as we know, could be Webinar Jam, for example, that we're using now, or Zooms or Teams are really common and popular as well. But the difference and the edge is all about your production and AV company. That's what will make and elevate the event in terms of hybrid. And it's making sure then that you integrate those services to promote that seamless event experience. So whilst you've got the very basic platforms of Teams, Zoom, Webinar Jam, it's then the AV side of things that really steps it up a gear and enables you to achieve much more. And that can be scaled up and down dependent on budget completely. Yeah.
But if I'm looking at, if you would have done this event, you would be able to maybe then, could I, as a virtual, participant, could I then ask questions in live? So could I come actually up? So even the, physical, the live event can see me on the screen asking a question. So, to the speaker, if during a Q&A session, for example, so I can participate on the same level as the other ones. So I feel I can even get the same value back again.
That's correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's essential as well, that we manage to that what you do with your partners in AA in when you're creating these hybrid events, that you aim to create the same experience for me as a virtual participant as those ones sitting in, if I was sitting actually in Burj Al Arab. Of course, it is a difference in terms of that. Just sitting in Burj Al Arab and watching it, but the other one is sitting in their office and watching it. But at least I can feel a little bit of connection, and feeling like I can participate or I can contribute. I think it's contribution maybe I'm looking for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's their engagement. That's, one of the main differences with, there's another slide shortly, but, many people think that a virtual event is completely different. It's not. They believe that it's a different ball game, but actually, in essence, the purpose and milestones that you get to in terms of delivering that event experience, they remain exactly the same. The fundamentals and the message of why you want to deliver on that event doesn't absolutely change. So that's really core when looking at this in its entirety. And I think, yes, absolutely. I think, when you look at the virtual world, you can lose engagement quite quickly in the virtual world. So it's important that you look at, that's why the content's important. It's better to be shorter, much more interactive. When you're planning both the in-room and remote attendee experience, you've really got to think about the attention span of your attendees. Because it's shorter, plan for shorter events, take breaks more often than perhaps you would do in a live event, to keep the engagement sort of alive, really. And as I mentioned before, it's about considering the right level and amount of AV to really capture that in-room experience, to make sure that it's resonating in that sort of hybrid platform.
Yeah, is that what we see on I like the picture on the previous in one way. So this is kind of like what you're seeing. So for you, like what AA actually does is you actually capture that or have that right partner to partner with to make that audio and being captured. So the online experience would be the same as being there live, or as close as being live.
Absolutely. And for this particular event, you can see that it's extremely high tech. And I think, I want to highlight that it doesn't have to be as high tech. It absolutely is budget driven. And that's where, as experts, we come in terms of guiding and supporting our clients to achieve what their core objectives are. So we really want to understand, make it, and how we can create that, what's the concept and how we can turn that into reality with all the components factored in. But yes, you're right. This is high tech. And it was extremely successful.
But I think it's important also that you can do that. It's possible to do it in big events. It's not only small, because sometimes we feel maybe like hybrid is maybe small events because that's more easy to capture in one way. But you can do it in these, big events like you have here as well, and being able to capture or engage the online audience in the same way as well.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point and really good question, because I think that one of the advantages of hybrid events is absolutely what you just said, that there's no cap on the number of attendees. So you do generally get a larger number of engagement. Let's say you've got, the ballroom that we talked about earlier, or a meeting space, and it's only got a capacity of 100 people. Well, there's absolutely no limitation for hybrid events, because you could get thousands and thousands of people dialing in. And that's absolutely one of the benefits. Of course, yes, there's going to be some investment in the AV, but, there's other costs that can be reduced as well. And we can help manage that and guide our clients, to make sure that they're achieving what they need to.
Yeah, but also in the terms, if you're going to fly in thousands of people, and rather you have maybe 400 in the event, and then the 600 is doing online, you reduce your cost in one way in that sense as well. So it's a kind of a balance in, yes, you add on a bit of cost onto your event, but you reduce a bit of your travel cost and stay cost as well for
absolutely. Yeah, no, so there is reduced travel costs. You're right. There's no hotels to think about, no transfers, no flights. So
exactly.
significant cost savings, because flights are generally one of the most expensive components, as is the hotel. So absolutely, there are definitely things to think about. And as this next slide sort of talks through, this just really maps out that event cycle of how we look to achieve the pre-event planning, the deliverables on site and post-event as well. So, the various different steps that we take.
So if you look at the pre-event here, so what you would do if, I'm a client coming to you and saying, I'd like to do an event in Dubai. I can only do, we have a budget to fly in, 50 people. So the rest, which is, 200 people around the world, and we got, maybe, we got people in US, we got people in Africa, and we got people in Asia who needs to do it virtually. We're only flying in the ones who's in Middle East, probably because that's the cheapest way to do it. So what would you start on, a little bit there?
Yeah, so I think it's really sitting down with our client and understanding what their key deliverables are. So once we've scoped that out, we can really then map out the structure. But you're right, if they have an event for X amount of people, and then they want to deliver that essentially to a wider audience, but don't necessarily have the budget, this would be a perfect solution to absolutely consider. And what we often do is we'll absolutely cost both out. And how I present this to clients is there's absolutely no harm considering it from the offset. There's no disadvantage. At least it's something that's been mapped through. It can be considered, and you can rule it out. Whereas if we don't go through that process of considering it, well, at a later date, it could become then too late. But from the very, very beginning, it's something to absolutely consider in today's world, because what you could find is, as we touched on before, and Christine, you rightly mentioned, you've got international corporations now and companies, blue chip companies that have offices worldwide. So whilst one country might be happy to travel, or one individual might be happy to travel, you can't expect everybody to have that same mindset. I think one thing that the pandemic has taught us is that, we have to be agile, we have to be flexible, and we have to give people sort of, options and choices that they're most comfortable with. And I feel that hybrid events is absolutely that solution. It's sort of win-win all round for the delegates, making sure the staff are comfortable, and it enables still the business to deliver on what's needed.
I have a question here saying, is there a lead time difference advantage to delivering a hybrid event versus a physical event?
Yeah, no, and that's a really good question as well. And in theory, it depends, I guess, on the scope of things, in essence. But as I touched on before, it's the best of both worlds. So when you're planning this, you'll do it in tangent, so it's together. So as you make a decision on the live event, you then equally consider how that impacts on the virtual event to make the hybrid event, if that makes sense. So you work on both together. And I think, one of the things that we often say to clients, don't necessarily think about this as planning two events. It's really the same event. The one thing or the couple of things to consider is that you're able to heighten the event and you're able to elevate it to new levels. So to try to steer it away from planning two events. It really is one, enabling you to achieve much more.
Yeah, it makes sense in that, because it's kind of like a value add, I would say, to the live event in terms. You can also say that isn't a value add because you can just, like you said, get more people into the event by joining live or joining, online instead of being present. Yeah. So I don't know if we have we touched on all the, you said with the virtual, of course, you do have a bit more maybe technical rehearsals going on, and you said on the online or the virtual event, is it, or do you feel that goes together with the live event, kind of like you're doing the same kind of rehearsals and checking, or do you find that goes hand in hand?
Yeah, so one of the slides that I wanted to go through now, which will hopefully sort of cover your question, Christine, is just an example of what a virtual production team would look like versus the live. And everyone watching now can sort of see the comparisons, which I think is really interesting, which again just shows and highlights that sort of it is like for like. As in the live, you have an event producer, you'd have a virtual event producer. So then you'd have the stage manager, you'd have them, the virtual stage manager. So all of these individuals will work in partnership with each other. Then obviously you've got the sort of the project manager. On the virtual side, you've got the technical director, or direction rather, which is where you come in with all the sort of rehearsals in which you're absolutely right. Across both, it needs to be fully rehearsed as well to make sure it's all in sync. And then obviously, you've got the sort of concept design, and then it's the digital environment and the concept and the engagement on the virtual sort of side as well. So I find that this slide's really sort of a good at a glance opportunity to see the comparables.
Yeah, and it also makes that those will work together, of course, on the event. If you're doing a hybrid event, those kind of, you got your event or live event producer, but they will work with the virtual event producer together in terms of teams as well, will they? Or
that's correct.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But just trying to understand the whole concept. So also maybe some of the others. I'm just checking if anyone else have more questions on there, because I think it's good, the lead time. So the lead time would be, do you find that when you get a request in, and you have had requests in for events in Dubai?
We did. We delivered a hybrid event on Thursday evening last week. With the South American, Latin American audience. So absolutely, yeah. Which in total, so far in terms of views, it's had almost like 1.7. 1,700 sort of delegates sort of signed up, registered, attended, and obviously we had a live audience as well, which was much smaller numbers. So that goes back to the point that your reach can be far greater than planned, which has a much greater success rate on your ROI in the long term.
Yeah. So I just thinking, I see we're coming up to we're trying to make it around 30 minutes. You said a little bit on the workflows. I think that's a nice slide as well you have on the workflows, just to get people to understand a little bit how it can work with the virtual event side. I don't know if you touched that, basically.
No, yeah, sure. So again, this really just highlights the similarities in terms of how you would approach the hybrid event. It is similar to the live event. Obviously, there are some key differences, mainly around the sort of the technology and the rehearsals and checking people into lobbies, which you obviously wouldn't do in a live event.
Right.
All this new technology, all these new words that we've got now in our new world. But the speaker would connect into the platform. The technical director would then do the checks and balances in that sort of virtual lobby and just make sure everybody is all geared up and ready to go. Then the speaker obviously, tests sort of the breakout rooms, and then you've got the producer that's briefing the speakers, giving the warnings, the standby, the go live, and the countdown. Yeah. And then what comes in is the stage manager giving the technical direction and the technical director cues. Which obviously then resonate into the live environment. And then post-presentation, the speaker's brought back into the green room. Now, this is very much more when you're doing the hybrid event that's filmed in the virtual sort of platform. That then is projected, as we know, onto these different sort of platform channels, the webcast, the webinar channels, to bring that alive. Okay. And it's done simultaneously.
Excellent. No, it's just for me, and I think we can kind of roll off with your kind of sales points. I was saying we had up here.
No, sure. I think really, whether you're arranging a simple meeting, a broadcast, networking event, conference, or reward and recognition, or interactive team engagement, it really is all about teaming up with the right sort of experts and making sure they've got the right tools, because then anything is possible. And we truly believe that at Arabian Adventures, we have strong partnerships. We've been operating now in the region for over 30 years, so we want to be able to guide our clients to the high standards, and our experience that's in-house through our event managers. You'd be supported throughout, and we handhold from beginning to end. We collaborate with our suppliers and partners to create that infrastructure where everybody feels absolutely comfortable and deliver with that live event and virtual event simultaneously, as we've talked about. We offer the strong support throughout the planning and execution process. And it is absolutely, I talked about content before, and we are able to assist with that, in any way where we can. It's important that we add as much value as possible to get the best results. The rehearsals are critical, making sure everybody feels comfortable with the flow of the event. And then, you've got the coaching of the speakers, making sure that the entertainment and speakers suit the deliverables of the event as well, and making those suggestions and recommendations. And then we assist and can assist on the registration delegation through the right software platforms if needed. And then sort of, to wrap up sort of the post-event, we can do all the reports and on our analytics as well. So the scope of what we do really varies. And I think we believe no matter what size the meeting room, technically, it doesn't determine the reach of your audience. And it really is all about bringing the location to your audience. And it's been obviously an interesting, 10 months for us all within the industry, but I really feel that hybrid events will be sustainable for events in the long term, and offer so many great opportunities for the industry.
Yeah. So I was saying, if you're going to kind of catch up like three points why using hybrid events in terms of what would you say would be the plus points of doing hybrid events? If I give you only 3 points, darling.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely great question, Christine. And I think, it's all about the higher engagement. So you can interact with a wider audience and achieve an awful lot more than the live event. I think that, it obviously we have to adapt, and as an industry, we're still working through that. So it's absolutely also about surrounding yourself with the right partners that you feel most comfortable with. And, you know, it's all about relationships as well. And, you know, we want to extend that out to our partners so that they feel comfortable. You know, a lot of the time this is very new to, you know, clients. And as I said, you know, we're happy to guide, we're happy to offer this solution from the very offset to rule it in or rule it out. And for us, it's just about being flexible, knowledgeable, and offering that support, really. So, yeah.
I think the key word for us is flexibility, and I think the hybrid events kind of creates that flexibility which people need at this time, because like we see, there's a second wave now. We might be looking at a third wave, this thing coming up. So I think being able to do an event, small or big, hybrid, create that flexibility. You might be traveling in November, but suddenly something happens which makes you can't travel, but you still can attend because you have that you know, hybrid function.
Absolutely, and it offers that reassurance, as we said, to those delegates that don't want to travel and those people that are not comfortable traveling at this given moment in time. And hopefully, as we know with the vaccine, the news of the vaccine over the last couple of weeks, we all hope that looking ahead to 2021, you know, good news is on the horizon. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jeveen. Like I said, hybrid events is kind of people trying to get a grip, I think, what it actually is and how it works, and hopefully kind of shed a little bit of light on that for people. And we're going to post it on our YouTube link anyway. And we get back, and it's coming as a replay to those who can attend live. So they have a look and they can ask questions as well. So they will get straight to Jonas all these questions. And if anybody needs us, we are, of course, here. So just Jonas at unitedspiritnordic.com. He will be able to assist you as well. So it's great. And thank you again for taking the time. I know it's national holidays in Dubai, so thank you for doing this on a day off as well, or on a national day off. Yeah.
Oh no, it's an absolute pleasure. And yeah, we look forward to seeing everybody in Dubai very soon.
I hope so as well. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Have a nice day.
Take care. Thanks,
you too. Bye.
Bye.